Hi, I'm Greg Jones, and welcome to video 2 in my series, video 2 of 3 on demystifying modes. On this video, I'm going to talk to you about how to use modes, where the previous video I introduced you to the sound of modes, showed you an easy way to process them, to think about them. We have major modes we compare to major scale, minor modes we compare to minor scale, looking for the one note difference between those derivatives in the mode, and then we practiced everything in the same key. We didn't mess around with like trying to do different like modes from different keys. So I picked C, and we did everything was a C mode: C Lydian, C Ionian, C Dorian, C Phrygian, etc. Okay, that's the way you want to practice them. Otherwise, it's going to be really confusing. Okay, this video I'm going to talk to you about. The common question is, how do I use modes? Well, I can think of 3 ways that you can use them. I have my trusty looper pedal here that's going to help me out. Okay, I'm going to loop some chord progressions and play these. But first, I want to talk to you about the number system. Sometimes it's called the natural numbering system, but that's just, when they say natural, that's just another way of writing out the number system. The number system, for those of you who are not inclined, and I'm going to go to a cleaner tone to help to demonstrate stuff here. The number system, I'm still swishing. Okay, the number system is a tool where you can, for whatever key you're in, you can number the chords in that key, and you can figure out which ones are supposed to be major and minor. So if I'm in a major key, we'll pick C major. Okay, the 1 chord is C. Okay, and that's supposed to be a cleaner tone. A little dirt on it, doesn't it? That's the 1 major. All right, and then from C I can go up the scale to D, the second, and the second chord. That would be minor, okay? Then 3 is minor, E minor. Then 4 is major. This is just a pattern, okay? 5 is major, which is G. 6 is A, and that's minor. And then the way people teach the number system is they'll say 7, you'll play diminished. See me shaking my head? No, it's because you'll never use that sound. You'll rarely use a diminished chord that way, okay? Don't do that. That's not how I teach it. For chord number 7, play the 5 chord with the 7th note as the bass note, 5 over 7. So, and I'm going to key a C. Let's think. I know that's what I just said sounds complicated if you've never heard before, but it'll get easier. Okay, 5 over 7 in the key of C. 5 chords G, C, D, E, F, G. So I'm playing a G chord, but I said 5 over 7, meaning 7, which is the letter B, G, A, B. The letter B is my bass note, so that means for that G chord I'm playing, I'll make that B on my 2nd string, 5th string, 2nd fret, my lowest note. Okay? So that's what I'll do for my chord number 7. You can, so that's the number system. You can summarize it this way: 1, 4, and 5 are 1, 4, and 5 are major. 2, 3, and 6 are minor. And then 7 is a 5 over 7. I like to play this descending for people who've never heard it before. I'll play some arpeggios. There's 1 major, 5 over 7, 6 minor. Here's a 5 major, 4 major, and 3 minor, 2 minor, and then here's C. All right, so that's the number system. I bring that to your attention because when we're thinking of modes, there's certain chord deviations from that system that instantly flag us that, hey, that's a modal chord progression. All right? So I want to demonstrate that for the major modes. And I only gave you that system for the major system, but that number system applies to the minors. You can do that in minor keys as well. You can do it at any key. But this is not about the number system. If you need to learn more about that, you need to look up some other resources. But I'm going to first demonstrate that in major key, and then I'll show it to you in minor key, assuming you know the number system for minor keys, okay? Which is not always a safe assumption. Whenever I see a deviation from that system, 1, 4, 5 is major, 2, 3, 6 is minor, 7 is 5 over 7, it might be a clue that we're looking at a modal chord progression. One example I'll give you is whenever the 2 chord, which is supposed to be minor, is major, I'm looking at a Lydian chord progression. Let me just play that with the looper. I'm going to do a C major to a D major, okay? So I kept the C as a bass just to help you hear the key I'm in. Now the scale I'm going to play over this is I'm going to play a C Lydian, so which has a sharp 4 if you remember it. And see, everything wants to end on that. Everything wants to resolve to C, which is why we say we're in the key of C. For those of you who have studied this stuff before, you might know I'm really playing a G major scale. C Lydian is a G major scale, but don't think of it that way. That's not why modes exist. Modes exist, and I'm getting into a clue for the third video, when the tonal center is on a note different from the first scale degree of our scale. If that went over your head, I'll explain it as we get to the third video, okay? Which is where I get the nuts and bolts and get into the stuff that gives some people a headache. Anyhow, that's a modal chord progression. Whenever I see a 2 as a major instead of a minor in a major key, 2 major instead of 2 minor, I know I'm looking at a Lydian chord progression. So I play, instead of a key of C major, instead of playing a C Ionian, which is the modal name for a C major scale, I simply play a C Lydian. All right, let me show you the chord flags for a mix of Lydian. If I'm in the key of C major again, and I go to, first of all, if I go to, like I told you, 7 in the key of C is a 5/7, right? G over B. But what if I instead played a B flat, which is a flat 7? Which that note's not supposed to be in the key of C major because there's no sharps and flats in the key of C. So I play the flat 7 and I make a B flat chord with it, okay? If I do that, which I call flats, I just basically say a major chord built from a flat 7. Whenever I see that in my song, I know I'm looking at a Mixolydian chord progression. All right, I'll play a simple chord progression that yields that. So it's... Nice. Okay, here's some of my C major scale. Mixolydian. That note. See how everything wants to land on that C? So we're in the key of C. I know that there's music theory that says, well, we're really in the key of F major, but stop it. Don't do that. You're going to confuse yourself. Another flag, I just changed tones to get some more distortion for this, just for fun. This next flag is the 5 chord. In a major key, 5s are supposed to be major. Remember, 1, 4, 5 is major, 2, 3, 6 is minor, 7 is 5/7. I don't care if they teach it diminished or not. You'll never do that. So if I see that chord is minor, then that is going to be a Mixolydian chord progression. So let me demonstrate that with the looper. I'll play a G minor, okay? So I'll do the flat 7 also. So you got to wait and hear both. Got the idea? So let me stop that loop. So that's Mixolydian. Let me go down to the minor modes, minor keys. Number system abbreviated for you in minor keys. 1, 4, 5 is minor. 3, 6, and 7. Is that right? Yeah, 3, 6, and 7 is going to be major. And then the 2/7, I think, is the is what you're going to do for the slash chord that we had for over 2 chord. All right. So in the key of C, C minor. What are the flags? What are the deviations from that? Well, if you see a 4 major in a minor key, which means F major in a key of C, I'm looking at a Dorian chord progression. Let's play that. So here's a minor with a C minor chord progression with an F major. So C minor and F, I'll do. Here's the F major. Here's the Dorian scale. Whoops. I think I hit a few bad notes there. But that's C Dorian. Another flag is when I see a flat 2 in a minor key and it's built on the major chord. Okay, so like, or power chords even. Let me play it. Oh, sorry. Another flag for this, which is, by the way, this is Phrygian. Another flag is to go down a whole step and make it a minor. Here's the Phrygian scale. I think I hit that F sharp by accident. So that's the idea for Phrygian, all right? So certain chord progressions are modal. That's the first way. By the way, for Locrian, I don't even do Locrian, but if I hear a diminished chord, if a song seems like it's in a diminished key, I would use Locrian, okay? I'm not even going to demonstrate that. It's such an avant-garde and rare thing, and frankly, I'd be showing my ignorance. I've not explored it enough. But that's the first way to play modes, is you identify modal chord progressions. It can be for a whole song, or it can be part of a song, what you might call a temporary, temporary modulation, all right? Maybe the song normally has a minor, like it's in the key of C, and it normally goes to D minor, but there's one place in the bridge it hits a D major, you know. That would be a clue that you're using a mode temporarily, all right? Now, I need to say this before I go on to the other 2 ways that we use modes, is you can use a pentatonic to cheat with the modes. And sometimes it actually sounds, in fact, oftentimes to me, it sounds better, especially if I don't want the song to kind of go into this foreign land of where modes reside. So let me do one of those modal chord progressions, and I'm going to pick a major, but I could do this at minors too. I'll do the Mixolydian one because that one had 2 deviations, right? So I'm going to do a C Mixolydian modal chord progression, but I'm going to play, since Mixolydian's major, I'll play a C major pentatonic over top of it. So here's the chord progression. Here's C major pentatonic. Play it slowly. My best chord progression, but anyhow, hope you got the idea. You can do that minors also. If you see a Dorian chord progression, instead of playing a C Dorian scale, you could play the C minor pentatonic, and that's going to work really well too. I will often switch between pentatonic and the larger diatonic scale or mode, the 7-note mode, and go back and forth between those to make my leads more interesting. All right, so what we're doing with the modal chord progressions is you're playing within the key, all right? And I'll continue that concept, and then we'll go to finding how to play modes outside the key. But the second example, second way you can think of as playing modes, you're still within the key, but what's happening is the key is very, very ambiguous, okay? If I play a chord progression that is, doesn't really, if you analyze all the notes in your chords, they don't really firmly tell you what key you're in. Or maybe they could be interpreted as being in more than one key. For those of you who know music theory and the circle of fifths, what I'm saying will be easier to discern and make more sense. If you don't know that stuff, learn it. But in other words, I'm playing ambiguous chord progression. You don't know for sure which key you're in. Then you can switch between one or more modes for that. So an example is if I went between C major and an F major, I could play C major scale, also known as C Ionian, but I could also switch to C Mixolydian because that 1 and 5 major are going to be worked for both keys, all right? So let me demonstrate that. I'll play C major and a G major, and I'll switch between, I'll go play a little bit of major scale that you would normally hear, and then I'll play like a Mixolydian thing, okay? So here's the C major chord progression, just C and G. It's just two. It's the ambiguous chord progression because it's just two chords, and they don't have enough notes to firmly tell us what key I'm in. All right, that's how we call it ambiguous. Okay, I might do a melody in a key of C major. Here's a scale. Now here's C Mixolydian. Whoops. See how Mixolydian works just, whoops. I can go back and forth between the two. Not the best example when I'm going back and forth, but you gotta be careful about timing and context when you go back and forth, because once I hit that B flat, it's like the listener keeps hearing that B flat in our psyche even when I'm not. It's like that mode is stuck in our head for a little duration afterwards. So if I go to switch between Mixolydian and Ionian too soon, which is what I did there, maybe it doesn't work as well. But you can switch between modes, and Satriani does it all the time. A more simpler example of something that would be ambiguous would be, say, to play a power chord. So a C power chord, I could play through all three major modes. Or actually, power chords are neither major or minor, so I can play major or minor modes. So I'll do that real quick, okay? So here's a C power chord. So major scale. Here's C minor. Phrygian. Dorian. Lydian. Mixolydian. What a good songwriter will sometimes do when they want to use modes is maybe I would make a one part minor and then switch to major. Let's try that. I'll try to play melodically. So I'll try to do a Dorian or I don't know, Aeolian maybe minor. I'll go Dorian. Now I'll make it major. Lydian. And I'll do Mixolydian. Get the idea? All right, this what I'm going to do now, let me clear my looper out, is to try to show you how you can use modes also by bringing notes in from the outside, okay? So I'm going to keep the chord progression simple, but I'll go back and forth. I'll do some jazzy chord progressions too, okay? Let's see how that works. So here's I'll just do like a, actually let's do a 3-6-2-5 and try it really jazzy. So never mind about being simple. Let's see if we can do that. So I'll do E minor, A minor, D minor, and then a G13 and a C. And I'll show you the modes over top of that, and I'll try to bring notes from the outside. So a C major scale works great over this, even though it's jazz. If you're not familiar with jazz, you know. But listen to me play like Lydian. Right there, I resolved the Lydian. I did. That note's the F natural. I resolved it to Ionian. See? I hung it on Lydian. I did. See? I hang it, and then I resolve it. Now here's the Mixolydian. That B flat, see? Back to Ionian, or Lydian. There's Lydian. Lydian. There's Lydian, Mixolydian. There's Lydian. Lydian. Back to natural 4. You hear me a little bit throwing in a little bit of minor pentatonic blues thing there too. So anyhow, that's how you can try to combine notes, bring in notes from the outside of your chord progression. That chord progression strictly, if you analyze the notes in that chord progression, those notes all strictly come from C major, all white keys on the piano. But I'm bringing in black keys when I go into the Lydian and Mixolydian modes, either F sharp or B flat, okay, on a piano keyboard. So that's how you use modes to bring in an outside sound and yield more jazz.